Day 2 of the Kickoff Clash is here, finally. There's been a couple of spicy games over the last day or so, but today is where we see the real meat and potatoes. We're seeing teams eliminated today, Scott.
We've seen the upper seeds face the lower seeds, but now we're in the winner's bracket. We're watching the top seeds face off against each other. We got some banger of games happening today.
I'm feeling a little different today.
Don't think I like this.
No, I don't know. We'll see how this goes a little bit later on. Yeah, we got some bangers coming out. Atlanta Reign versus the Shock. The Shock, #1 seed, surprise, surprise, they won their first game.
Yeah, a little shaky though. Having to finish a reverse sweep yesterday. They did have some moments, but some excellence from Proper and the rest of the Shock team got them over the edge. But the Atlanta Reign, a team that a lot of us were thinking were struggling, might not do so well in the Kickoff Clash, had a pretty good match yesterday.
Yeah, and a lot of these players, we were talking about it earlier on today, Scott, just back in the green room, that some of these players haven't really played in a LAN environment before, and they show up like this. You're like, wow, okay. Where have we been all this time? Like, Proper is just demolishing on his, well, I was going to say Tracer, but every single pick that he's playing right now.
You could list every hero at this point, every DPS hero at least. Maybe we'll see him on the tank one of these days. Hopefully not. But yes, that's it. The rookies have been exceptional so far for the San Francisco Shock. Slow start yesterday. Let's hope they don't do the same thing today.
Yeah, well, the Atlanta Reign are their opponents. I think we best bring them on the stage, don't you? Please put your hands together for the Atlanta Reign. First out on the stage, Scott. We see the sharpshooter himself. You got young Kai. His Widowmaker has been heating up.
It's been absolutely incredible. Me and you were actually talking about it yesterday, like, does Kai still have it? Is he going to be at that same level of Widowmaker? He put all of our doubts to rest yesterday, absolutely dominating on Watchpoint Gibraltar. But also, I want to talk about Gator and Venom. That's a big indicator of what they're going to play at the beginning in first map. It's going to be interesting because Gator's Winston has been, I guess, tested and questioned. Venom's Trace has been exceptional, but the dive has actually been looking good for the Atlanta Reign. One of the better compositions we've seen from them so far this season.
Yeah, it's kind of insane. You look at the Atlanta Reign and how they actually got here. They're using mainly Hawk. It's like they had Gator in the back pocket the entire time. And ideally, that's how you want to, well, play the, I guess, the overall meta game of the Overwatch League, right? You have 2 tank players on your roster. Why not use one just a little bit? And then when you get to a tournament setting, you practice a ton with Gator and have him come out and surprise a couple of people. Their opponent, of course, today, #1 seed coming into the Kickoff Clash is the San Francisco Shock. I mean, we spoke about Proper already, but that ginormous man in the center, a hulking monster in Kaluge, he's been looking rather spicy too.
The 8'7" gaming warlord being able to show his flexibility on multiple different heroes. He plays the Doomfist, he plays the Winston. Honestly, anything that they've needed from him, he has been able to produce on. And that has really enabled everyone else to show their own flexibility as well. Most importantly for me, they have Kilo starting in the roster. Yesterday, when Sam was coming in, they wanted to play that Reaper, but Kilo makes me think they're going to stick to that soldier in this first map.
Yeah, Kilo's aim and just tracking is unbelievable. Like, we were watching a few other games, a few of their scrims before the season started, and I was perma on Kilo's POV. I'm not going to lie. And just watching him track people through the air on Soldier, it's like an actual robot doing Lord's work, and you can see why they picked him up. The San Francisco Shock have had such a massive roster change coming into this season, but they're performing like you'd expect Shock last year to perform.
Yeah, they underperformed in expectations of last year, but this new roster, they overhauled everything. 83% of their team are rookies, and they've been performing at the highest level. Some people were wondering, is there going to be growing pains? Are they not going to perform? But they went undefeated. They are still undefeated in the Kickoff Clash. Absolutely ridiculous. But they're going up against the Atlanta Reign, and you can see them here. We talked about their lineup. The San Francisco Shock know what they're going up against. There's going to be likely a Winston mirror. Is the San Francisco Shock comfortable in that? You would expect so. They haven't really stumbled against many teams so far against that composition. Atlanta Reign, they're going to have to step up if they're going to beat the Shock.
They're going to need to. I think a lot of doubts were cast over the Atlanta Reign. Now they've been performing. I mean, Hawk has been fantastic seeing Zarya play, a little bit of Doom here and there, but only seeing portions of Gator's play has been surprising, I think, for a lot of teams coming in, not expecting to see Gator this often. But like I said, sometimes surprises are good. Ilios is the map to start off.
It's Atlanta falling on that Doomfist sword. They came in early in the season thinking that that Doomfist meta was going to be the thing that was going to be dominant. But as we saw the season progress, as the meta diversified, Doomfist started falling out. We saw the Houston Outlaws struggle with that yesterday. So Atlanta Reign have done that late adaptation. Gator may be proving his own Doomfist. We've seen it from a little bit from Colosseo as well, so it might come out in portions, but I expected them to primarily stay on the Winston.
Yeah, signs would definitely point that way, that is for sure. We'll see what the rookie backline, the Atlanta Reign, can do. Another couple of players that have surprised a lot of people. Well, maybe not everybody, but some people. OG and Ultraviolet. Their Ana Lucio play has been spectacular. Of course, they played together before, so it kind of makes sense. They're just so in sync.
We're going to see them rolling out on the mirror compositions. You're going to see them assume the position on the high ground with both of those soldiers. You need to keep an eye on the engagement of the Winstons and the antibiotic nodes. Those are the things that are going to make the big plays.
Yeah, just fighting over cage control right now. Finn used a nade defensively, and now Proper's just trying to jostle around, first game of the day, around that mega health back. The Atlanta Reign get hit with a fat anti though. 3 people, Kai, Gator, and OG hit with that anti from Finn from afar. Finn does die, but cleaning up Gator for the San Francisco Shock here is not the worst. There's a lot less space control for the Atlanta Reign now. The point has been unlocked. Now Shock moving in, trying to make their approach. Still pretty low. Oh, Proper. He's slipped over the edge there. He's good. He's got Regal, thankfully. That does mean the Atlanta Reign end up claiming it.
We talked about the backline of the Atlanta Reign and Ultraviolet, but Finn opening up that round with an enormous 3-person biotic nade, but San Francisco Shock unable to capitalize. Atlanta Reign taking that positioning back and getting that first cap. So now we need to start looking at the nano boost. Look at the advantage for Finn right now at 80%. They're going to use that as an engagement on Colosseo, but another big biotic nade from Ultraviolet onto the backline and Colosseo.
You know, something going to hinder the shot. Colosseo going to go in. Pulse bomb thrown down by Venom. No one steps on it, so no kills just yet. We've seen some crazy pulse bombs whipping, but still getting kills. Colosseo goes in with a nano boost, but gets slept. Nice kill by Kilo. Venom was trying to run back to San Francisco Shock, some mega health pack, but got caught off guard. The Shock now with a pulse bomb onto Gator are going to be able to find the flip. That's range 40% or 39, not bad. Good start.
Venom getting caught off there by Kilo, not expecting that soldier to be there, gets hit by that direct from the rocket. Colosseo, as much as he doesn't get value from that nano boost, able to create that space for the rest of the San Francisco Shock team. And now Atlanta Reign, the shoe is on the other foot. They have the nano boost. Are they going to use it on Gator to engage or Kai for the nano visor?
Looks like Kai. Look at the way Ultraviolet is following it. There is the visor. No bubble for Colosseo. He's finished up by Venom. Oh, Violet. He's trying to boop him back, but he just ends up running into him. The damage boost from the nano is just so enormous. And the Atlanta Reign, they end up flipping the point back.
Violet's beat coming in just that little bit too late to save the San Francisco Shock. Kilo double downs with that as well, uses the visor, so the Shock are starting to lose a lot of their grasp on this round. Atlanta Reign already at 50%. And there it's counting real fast. Atlanta's coming up to some big ultimates as well. Gator with that Primal Rage, and Colosseo slept again.
Nice sleep again from Ultraviolet. He's going to be able to survive. He has the Primal Rage, so even if he did go low, he can pop it. Might be a good idea to do it now, yeah. Separate the backline from the front. Venom ends up falling to Kilo once more. He really has him on lockdown at this point. Primal Raging on the actual point. OG gets chased away, and the San Francisco Shock try and resume control. There's a little bit of dancing around the bubble there from Ultraviolet. Ends up backing up the mega health pack and surviving, but him just in that duel just takes him out of the fight completely, and the Atlanta Reign forgo the point.
Venom needs to find a way to stay alive. He is getting picked first for the Atlanta Reign, and once you lose that Tracer, you lose so much control over the map. The backline at San Francisco Shock is able to move around freely, so Venom needs to be careful. He just needs to stay alive, just keep that threat active.
Proper with Pulse Bomb. Staring at Ultraviolet, waiting for Colosseo to go in. Again, distraction. Kilo once again, yeah, taking care of Venom. Now it is a 4v5. The Atlanta Reign looks like they want to back off. Yeah, they're not pressing hard for the engagement. They don't really have the ults to back them up, even if they wanted to go in. Nano boost in 10%.
Proper able to hold on to that pulse bomb as well. That could put the nail in the coffin for the Atlanta Reign. Ultraviolet's coming up to that nano visor again alongside Kai. It looks like they're waiting for it.
Proper can start this fight off with a bang. Okay, he's going to jump onto the point. Speaking of bangs, Colosseo takes a hefty amount of damage from Venom's Pulse Bomb. Doesn't end up finding the kill, and Finn just gets a lot of Volt Charge from that. Proper's Pulse Bomb a little bit wide, but the beat is going to come through to try and make this last fight for San Francisco Shock. Kilo still pumping out damage. Kai and OG are now dead. It is 90% for the San Francisco Shock, and they still got a visor at their backs. Kilo trying to run gated down. He had the nano boost for a brief moment there, Scott, but that was about it. A force recall on to Venom, but they still need to touch the point. The San Francisco Shock are just holding this one down. Venom's just had the worst time on Tracer. He can't get anything done. Kilo staying alive in his healing station and finds another kill onto Kai. The Atlanta Reign put themselves on point using that beat, but the Shock are going to be happy with that. Colosseo coming back with the Primal Rage, takes care of Ultraviolet, and now is only 2 versus 4 on the point. The Shock still have control, and the Reign need to find a miracle to come back. Proper with the melee onto OG, and Gator getting finished off. It is now the stragglers on the point, but the Shock have this one. First round going to San Francisco.
Kilo managing to stay alive on that point, running away with his tail between his legs on 14 health, able to re-engage and put out that damage against the Atlanta Reign. But the story of that round is once again Venom on that Tracer. We know he's an incredible rookie. He is a Tracer specialist. He needs to have more impact. He's going up against, so far, the MVP candidate of Proper. I understand that's a difficult task, but that doesn't mean he just needs to do more, and he needs to watch out for the sightlines of Kilo. Kilo punished him 3 times in that round early on.
Supposed to Kai just beaming people from the high. Wow, he got moved down from high and activated the visor. There's a short little window there where you can't shoot any shots off, and Kilo managed to finish him in that small window. All right, gates have opened. Same kind of comps. Let's go.
We're going to have the mirror again. People are going to start taking this windmill, try and hold on to this control, because if you can hold this, you have that high ground. You have the freedom to be able to have those long sidelines. Oh, close boot from Violet, almost pushing Kai into the drink. But there you can see the difference of the Atlanta Reign. They've taken this cage room, and they've got the first pick on Kilo.
Yeah, big boop onto Kilo. I wonder if we went in the pit or off the map. Not entirely sure. Violet trying to go for the 1v1. Of course, Violet not traditionally known as a Lucio player, as many people have pointed out. Double flex support from the San Francisco Shock, but Lucio has been improving over the last few months.
That's it. We saw it last year in 2021, and we weren't happy with it. It wasn't having that level of impact. He's obviously improved on it this season so far. Gator taking a sleep, getting purple, but managing not quite to disengage.
Kilo once again coming up in the kill feed. Like, he is permanently finishing people off. Like, there's no way the Atlanta Reign can run around them. Oh, speaking about running around them, Prop with the pulse bomb. Sends Ultraviolet though. Whoa, okay. Kobe. Didn't quite land, and yeah, the Atlanta Reign ended up cleaning the fight up. That was a stick. Maybe would have got value, but the Atlanta Reign take that as a go sign.
San Francisco Shock getting a little ambitious after getting that pick onto Gator, moving forward, but it just wasn't enough. So now we're starting to see the ultimate cycles coming up. We have Venom with that pulse bomb. We said he needed to step up coming into this round. This is the time to do it.
Needs to come back quite big. Oh, yeah, little melee. Doesn't do all too much. Still waiting for the Ana to reveal herself. Ana, oh my God. Collusion Finn did not expect that. Venom, he's back on the scoreboard with a nice little pulse, and the finish on to Kilo. 60% for the Reign and building. San Francisco Shock not had an ear in this game.
OG with an insane rejection. Kalush goes in, OG says no, into the pit he goes, and that's a big swing of this round. We already have Atlanta Reign at 70% last fight territory if they win this round, and Shock don't have the nano. They also don't even have the visor, the primal. They haven't even been able to generate their ult so far in this round.
Could be quite a big nade. No, falls a little bit short. Ultraviolet just waiting to apply that nano to Kai. There it is, nano visor. Luckily, there's a lot of terrain you can run behind if it's San Francisco Shock, but Kai has legs, and he can run, and he's running all over the Shock. A sound barrier from OG. I mean, it's the end of the round. The Shock need to be able to touch. Proper has the pulse. If he gets maybe Ultraviolet, they could end up turning this, but it's looking rather unlikely. Kalush popping the Primal Rage to get back to the point in time. Proper sends out the pulse and goes wide. OT ticking through. Violet with the sound barrier does hit 3, but they're going to need a miracle to come back. Venom running back to his supports to get a little bit of healing as he builds ever so close to that pulse bomb. He's got it online, and now we need to target. He finds it straight in the back. Venom just needed a little bit of a warm-up. And the Atlanta Reign, they're going to take well. Violet is the only thing standing in their way. and they tie Ilios up. What a piece.
Shake off those nerves from the first round. Venom looking a lot nicer. The entire Atlanta Reign team looking a lot nicer, playing incredibly clean. San Francisco Shock just getting almost no purchase in the entire round, not able to get any damage. The only time they were able to use their ultimates when the round was almost over. So it's just desperation at that point. Zero value across the board. We move on to Ruins. This is really the map where you see the most diversity on Ilios. Are either the players going to pick up the Widow? We see Kilo on the Ashe right now, Kai on the Reaper. I would not be surprised to see Atlanta Reign walk out on this composition with the Moira of Ultraviolet. They're just going to run into the face of the San Francisco Shock. They know they want to play the hit scan with Kilo in the lineup. If you give them no space, Kilo will get no value.
It's just playing up in their face. I mean, that's what Doom's good at and best at, right? Just playing right up into your face, making sure you don't get any of that space, like you said. If Kilo just sits far back, the Dynamite's going to be so devastating, especially to heroes like Tracer. You have to hit that recall. If you get Dynamite, you can't get healed. It can be rather frustrating.
Atlanta's trying to get that positioning. They're trying to get as close as possible to the Shock and wait for that go moment. But they're trying to avoid as much damage from Kilo. I'm interested to see if they're just going to wait for the cap, force the San Francisco Shock to come into them. San Francisco Shock's going to give off the point at the very beginning. So now the Atlanta Reign, they're not forced to go and do anything. They can just hold onto this positioning, but Gator gets left in the middle of the open.
Wow, ooh, nice sleep, followed up by Kaluge. However, that space denied. Kilo had Kai teleporting right onto his face. In fact, Kai is still doing work in the back. Finids have just fallen, no ability, he's just run and gun. Kaluge at least finding a couple of kills, but ideally you need to get out or, you know, turn the fight, because Atlanta Reign have the points still and 25% and building. And the only ultimate the Shock have, or I say the only ultimate, Violet actually has the beat coming into the next fight, but they got Pulse too.
A little aggressive by Kaluge there. Atlanta Reign lost Ultraviolet. They didn't have the healing to close out that fight, but Kaluge, that misstep, gets punished on the point, and then the Shock have to disengage. They're engaging with the beat from OG.
Oh, Violet got interrupted. The beat denied by the Atlanta Reign, by Gator, punching him into the wall. A nice stick by Venom. He has come online over the last couple of maps. Now, no one, yeah, a little bit cold. They're feeling good. The Atlanta Reign on 50%, denying that beat is massive.
Enormous. Ultraviolet is holding on to that Coalescence as well, so expect this aggression coming in from the Atlanta Reign. As soon as the Shock step up, as soon as they see Kilo, I expect that's going to be the go moment.
Well, Proper still has that Pulse bomb. Ultraviolet has so many disengaged tools though. Doesn't want to pop the coal and then get pulsed, of course. That'll be the worst possible scenario for the Atlanta Reign. There's the Coalescence. Kalu's propping the Primal Rage. No one's going to die instantly. Okay, all right, okay. Kai gets focused down. Violet with a little bit of a... Well, he didn't get pulsed, but he got pushed off the map. Okay. The Shock mean business. Gator is somehow that far up in the sky.
Well, see ya.
Kalush is going to...
Have a good trip. I assume he's going back to spawn, probably going to switch over to that Doomfist so he can have more of that impact. So far struggling in the map to play the Winston, just too much damage. There's the switch right there coming in from Kaluge. So this makes me think that Kaluge isn't happy with how much damage he's taking when he tries to go aggressive against this Moira, unable to get any value. So now he can play more aggressive, give more space to Kilo on the Soldier.
Oh, nice kill. Venom did not see Kaluge behind him. Still does a fair amount of damage, just the primary fire of the Doomfist. There's the Death Blossom from Kai. Both supports from the Shock now have fallen. The Atlanta Reign are on 84%, Scott. If they flip right now, the Shock are in trouble. They're going to make this last fight territory. Kilo with the visor, no nano to back him up, and Proper's got the Pulse Bomb once more. Venom's just been so much better at landing these pulse, these sticks, than Proper has over the last couple of maps.
And they're going to need it. Kilo has that visor. Venom has to hunt him down. I would like to see some aggression from Gator as well. Give the team space, and he has the Meteor Strike to get out.
Proper trying to find a target. Rate form already blown by Kai, so that could be one he's after. But Kilo with just the normal tactical visor still finding value. OG just jumped straight into it. Proper holding on to the Pulse Bomb with his life. Doesn't want to blow it just yet. Forcing the fade's good. Ultraviolet now can be hunted down by Proper. So little defensive tools are there. A nice dodge, though, from Ultraviolet. He stays alive. Coalescence have now been popped, and this is the time for the Atlanta Reign to turn this fight around. Overtime is ticking down. Ultraviolet just focuses down Violet, and he whiffs the beat again. The Atlanta Reign have denied 2 sound barriers to San Francisco Shock, and they take map number 1.
We talked about on well, Violet has been impressing us on the Lucio so far this season. That's a bad round to be a Lucio player. Double Ajax in a round, and the chat, the Atlanta Reign is letting him know about it. There's a couple of lulls in chat, a couple of Ajaxes. Atlanta Reign take the first map. San Francisco Shock a little bit shell-shocked at the beginning once again.
how would that have looked if both those sand barriers actually landed? I'm not entirely sure, and I'm thinking, Shock, don't want to get in your head about it. It's only map number 1, they can come back, but the Atlanta Reign off to an amazing start. We're going to jump to a break. Map number 2 up soon.
shots, dead in the ground, we ain't the same, pull up. 3 rounds, bro, you done. We let it rain, head pop. So look out when we in the zone, don't play around. I got a strap, put to your back, tell you now, we laying it down, yeah. Bands up, trapped out, I bring the dogs, gang out. Look, don't wanna fade and drop out, got no clout. Think smart, this crucial. We ain't no average usual. Nah, we let it rain, ain't seen a savage, who you?
Atlanta Reign looking a little bit cold to start off the day, but maps, well, rounds 2 and 3, they're on control. Yeah, they ended up working out.
Yeah, Atlanta Reign making it work, but the San Francisco Shock, you can never count them out, Jack, because they've been through so many reverse sweeps. They seem to always be starting slow. So if you're the Atlanta Reign, you need to stay focused. You need to commit, keep finding that value. Yeah. I want to talk about Violet a little bit though. 1.8 sound barrier efficiency, and the league average is about 4. That should just show you how much he's struggled so far in this match. Violet, he needs to be a core piece of this Shock team. He needs to turn it around.
Violet Lucio, OG Lucio right now.
It's about that. It's about that. That much is the difference in the Lucios right now. So we're heading over to Kings Row, Jack.
We are. We've got a couple of substitutions. We've got Venom stepping back, Nero coming in. Also, we have Hawk, so Gator going back and Hawk stepping in. So it's going to be Zarya. It's going to be more off tanks more than anything else. And what's been great about, especially Venom in that very start, like, yeah, it was kind of messing up. Kilo had his number, but then he just ramped up on the Tracer. But the Atlanta Reign as a whole, they have such a deep pool of heroes they can pull from for DPS because Nero is unbelievably flexible.
And that's it. The Nero offers so much this Atlanta Reign team on the side of Venom. So what we're going to have, Hawk and Nero coming in. We've seen this look from them yesterday. They're going to play that Zarya Reaper style, trying to play that mid-ground exactly like the Dallas Fuel like to play. While for the San Francisco Shock, Sam comes in. He has been coming in as the Reaper specialist. He tweeted yesterday, Reaper one trick at this point. So I expect to see that Reaper mirror coming from both, but the major difference in this map is going to be potentially Hawk Zarya versus the Kaluge Winston, because we have not seen the San Francisco Shock commit to the Zarya this entire season.
Maybe now is the chance we see that, right? I mean, I think a lot of people, well, okay, maybe not use Nalos, Jake. Still need a word with you, buddy.
I got to talk to him still. You know, he lied to me.
Got to give him maybe an iron shoulder in the corridor, we'll see. Yeah, maybe this is the time to kind of bring out something new that you've been working on against other teams. Surprise tactics always work in these kind of high-level tournaments. Okay.
A part of you has to think as well, do the Shock go to mental warfare, put Kaluge on the Reinhardt? We know the Atlanta Reign has struggled against that rush composition, against the London Spitfire of all teams. And even the Gladiators made it look easy against the Atlanta Reign. So Shock, if they've been doing their homework, watching those matches, it could be a good look for them on Kings Row.
Could be, and that's exactly what they're doing. Running Sam on the Mei, Kaluge on the Rhine. Run and gun.
Run and gun. This is Kings Row, the home of Reinhardt. Not really, but if you've been around since 2016, everyone wants to play Reinhardt on Kings Row because it's so narrow. It allows you to just move around the map and clash into the Atlanta Reign. I'm curious to see what the adaptation from the Reign are going to be. Are they going to stick to Hawk on that Doomfist? We know Doomfist has worked well against Rush in the past.
Kai taking a couple of pop shots. I mean, Sam was close there, but they know Kai is just free firing right now. They get picked. Could be bad.
I really like this setup. I like this setup by the Atlanta Reign. Put Hawk on the point. He's sustainable. He's getting healed by Ultraviolet. Kai standing in the spawn, just holding them off. The San Francisco Shock don't know how to respond to this. They're just stuck in the high ground, wanting to rush something down, but there's nothing there. They've already used the lamp.
Yeah, they already used the lamp, and that's 2 ticks now for the Atlanta Reign. The San Francisco Shock need to move. Nice nade, doesn't get anybody, and Hawk gets a double stun. Perfect use of the seismic slam to get away from that charge from the Reinhardt. 2 free ticks from the Reign. I will take that any day of the week. And now the San Francisco Shock have to play on the low ground. Good seismic slam over the shield to try and get the Reign into a bit of danger. But now Hawk has found himself in a very small room with a nice wall at his back, and Violet finishes him off. There you go, Finn with the use of the lamp, stops the nade from doing anything proper, got purpled, and yeah, they can't follow that up. They need Hawk to come back and be that engagement tool.
Hawk getting a little too close, getting caught in the room, but Kaluge is like, oh, they just, that's a Charlie Niner if I've ever seen one. They get off the point, the Shock give it up almost for free, and the Atlanta Reign licking their lips with that one.
Oh my word, 2 free ticks, and then, oh, we'll just take the third, no worries. You're in the court? Oh, okay. Good, thanks. 5 minutes on the clock, not bad. And for a San Francisco Shock, like, roster of heroes they have right now, they want to be brawling up and close and personal, right? But the Reign aren't giving it to him.
Atlanta's, they're giving them nothing. Atlanta is just so spread out that the Shock don't have a target to run down. You want to play as this big brawl clump if you're the Shock with Sam on that main, isolate someone. But every time the Shock looks at somebody, they're running. They're running for the hills. And now the Shock, you have to start questioning, is this going to work? But they're set up in this chokeway now. They've got the cart stalled. The Atlanta Reign is going to have to engage into them.
There's the shadow from Colosseo, but it gets interrupted by a sleep. Ultraviolet sleep in Colosseo. He tried to go for the shatter, and all the meanwhile, the Atlanta Reign seeing the Ryan on the ground. There's no protection for the backline. OG gets eliminated. Proper on the soldiers, trying to grasp at straws right now, but the Shock are getting run over. This brawl composition that the Atlanta Reign struggled against, they're navigating it right now perfectly.
There's the switches coming in from the Shock. They have the May ult, so they're not going to switch off of that, but Colosseo going to the Winston, Finn over to the Ana. You can see them slowly making that transition into more of a dive style. I wouldn't be surprised to see Sam go to that Tracer or Echo. But this first fight, he has the Blizzard. He needs to try and find and isolate someone, but that's been difficult for them so far on King's Road.
4 ultimates for the Atlanta Reign in for this next fight. There's 3 for the Shock. A Visor on the sidelines and a Nano Blade for Nero. Kai's already finished off one. They force the beat. Nero's going to take a step back, knowing he can't really cut through that overhealth quick enough. But even with just the kill onto Proper, that's good. That's an ultimate eliminated for the Shock. Colosseo ends up going down. The Atlanta Reign have all the answers and a deflected Blizzard too. The San Francisco Shock get almost no value with ultimates. There's been 2 beats that have gone by the wayside, interrupted, a Blizzard deflected, and Colosseo's shatter negated.
I think it's fair to say the Shock are a little boomed at this point. Everything they've tried to do against the Atlanta Reign has not worked. We see the full transition here from the Shock. They have Sam over to the Echo. Hawk gets slept, gets a little low with the Biotic Nade, but they can disengage. OG's beat, they know the Shock have that Visor for Proper. Are they going to engage, try and find and isolate Proper as soon as he tries to pop that one?
Well, they got the beat, they can just beat and speed in. That would be one way they could do it. Hawk has thrown himself to the back line, does escape. Does have Meteor Strike as a get out of jail free card. But look at the space that they're being garnered right now. There you go, instant beat after Proper's Visor, Colosseo's antied. And now with 4 minutes to go, the Atlanta Reign want to sink this one home. Sam, Colosseo dead. The Atlanta Reign, this is a completely different look from this team right now. The San Francisco Shock not looking like yesterday or themselves. And like, what is happening right now? The Atlanta Reign are coming out swinging. 3 minutes and 46 seconds in the time bank.
That's got to be the fastest King's Row attack we've seen so far this season. Atlanta Reign ready for that one. They've done their homework. They've taken their losses and built and learned from them. Opposed to what Matt thinks, you can learn when you lose. It's been great play for them so far. I love the adaptation from Nero as well, knowing as soon as Shock switch over to that dive, get off Genji, switch to the Reaper, make it impossible for that San Francisco Shock team to move around. So now, what do you do if you're the Shock? What you just threw at them with the rush doesn't work. Do you go back to tried and true Winston dive, or do you stick to the rush? Maybe it'll work better on offense.
Well, if you're going to make adaptations, you've got to make them now, that's for sure. You kind of already know what the Reign are going to run. Well, I say that. Again, so many different shades of Reign, and I love it. We're seeing Hawk still on the Doomfist. Oh, here's the deflection on the Blizzard. Oh, that.
Like a book.
Oh, just red. I'm glad I spoke up Nero at the very start of the series and talking about how flexible he is. Extremely mechanically skilled on every hero that is possibly thrown at him. Still sticking on the Genji, Kai on the Soldier. They think the San Francisco Shock is running the same kind of comp, the rush. They unfortunately don't get the benefit of changing real quick because they are on the defense. It's the Shock that need to make adaptations, like you said.
So they're going to go to Finn on the Moira, something the San Francisco Shock has leaned on a lot so far this season. They like to play that fast run-at-you style with Sam on that Reaper, Finn on that Moira. It's kind of like the Rush, but like way faster. You're not as durable, but you can close distance and you can get on the high ground. So look at them to try and isolate Ultraviolet in that top window and force him into a position he does not want to be in.
Looks like they're trying to do that right now with a big rotation up the stairs.
Look at Ultraviolet looking around. He's so scared of where this Shock team is going to come from.
Okay, they're trying to go for a pincer maneuver, a teleport from Sam up to the windows, forcing Ultraviolet back. Proper taking a little bit of chip damage, but he should be good. So OG, with a perfect amount of defense there, can boot anybody that comes forward to the window. Hawk now in trouble, but his healer's on the high ground more than safe. Should be able to help him unless he LOS's. That's exactly what happened. A nade to follow up does hit Kaluj, but Kaluj using the seismic slam to get away. The Atlanta Reign still. The defense looking impenetrable right now. 3 minutes for the Shock.
You see that death from Hawk and you're like, oh, he can't be dying. But that was actually perfect. He gets aggressive, forces the Shock to make him the target that they have to choose. That leaves Kai and Ultraviolet just shooting freely down from the low ground. Ultraviolet's coming up on this nano, but Finn's Coalescence, that's going to be the engage tool for the San Francisco Shock.
Shock still trying to play Atlanta Reign's game, putting themselves on the point, getting free ticks, but Hawk is there to deny all of that space and all of the progress. Now Proper goes down. This is not a Shock I expected to see today.
Hawk getting in, that's another hold by the Atlanta Reign. Kaluj getting a little bit too aggressive, so they need to find a way to make that work. Sam switching over to the Genji, unable to get anything done on the Reaper, not able to get close to anyone because they're all standing on the high ground. He will be able to aggressively dive and close that distance on the Genji.
Ultraviolet looking for that nano boost with the visor. The Coalescence is coming. It's not going to do well though. Not against the nano visor. Good beat from Violet. Doesn't get interrupted this time as Kai ends up falling. A 3-man stun from Hawk doesn't result in much apart from a little bit of damage, but Kaluj is still taking the majority of it, but surviving with a couple of HP, allowing Sam to pick up these kills. Violet kills Ultraviolet in the back line, and now the Shock. They planted their feet firmly on that point. They unlock it, get the payload going. Very different tempo though from what the Atlanta Reign did. They got it so fast, and well, the Atlanta Reign, they have the blade to back them up, but it's all upon Proper's pulse bomb now for this next fight.
We're going to see Ultraviolet switch over to the Moira, recognizing against this hard dive composition from the San Francisco Shock. It's almost impossible to live on that Ana. So the major difference is Kai on this soldier. He's going to be pumping out so much damage. Shock need to find that tempo. They've got the cart moving. Atlanta Reign want to engage on this corner with Nero's blade.
There's the pulse on. He's looking for it. Wants that triple blink straight into the pub. Still taking an awful lot of damage from OG. The blade's been pulled by Nero, gets a little bit of damage done, but that's about it. He hasn't got the nano to back him up. Like you mentioned, they switched over to the Moira. Kai still doing a fair amount also. You just got to keep Kaluj alive and Proper alive too on this payload, and you should be good, but still the Atlanta Reign clutching up when it counts.
Losing Finn there, they just don't have that healing to sustain. You saw Ultraviolet getting pressured, but Moira is so survivable, able to just live through that fight where the San Francisco Shock could not. So they get to hold it a little bit longer, and the time is dwindling. Look, 3 minutes. They're just slowing the Shock down.
Yeah, it's so scrappy back and forth in these small corridors. Exactly like London, I mean.
Yeah.
You're getting scraps there, you're not going too far away. But with a charged up punch, yeah, didn't want to let it go just yet. Kaluj trying to do the same thing. Coalescence from Ultraviolet. That slam combo just slows you down. Sam couldn't escape, and it's a perfect target for a Coalescence. Anybody that's slowed, stunned, they're going to take so much damage. Proper takes care of Kai, but it's not going to mean a whole bunch. Kai can just run back from spawn, one of the quicker heroes in Overwatch 2. And the San Francisco Shock, yet again, struggling to get much done.
It feels like their tempo is a little slow. They're not confident in their own play right now, but they have the ultimates. They have the Sand Blade along with the Finn Coalescence. They're going to be able to go aggressive.
Yeah, Coalescence. Here's the chance to go for the blade, or maybe a pulse bomb from Proper. Meteor strike on the payload ends Violet's life. Didn't try to pop the sound barrier this time. The San Francisco Shock now have lost 2 as Kai unleashes the visor and Finn falls.
The blade?
What? The blade's coming in too from Sam? He lost both supports. He had nothing to back him up in that one. The San Francisco Shock lose the Cole and the blade in that fight. The Atlanta Reign just sort them out.
Just a disconnect from their team. Finn pops the Coalescence, but Sam holds off on pulling that blade. By the time Sam pulls it, Violet's already dead.
Jumping onto the Reaper now, you use the blade. Okay, maybe you wanted to swap, but still, I feel like you could have done a lot more with that. Proper's the one you want to look for, though, trying to get these big sticks. Just an absolute wizard on the Tracer. Nice beat from Violet to push them forward and push the Reign back. Ultraviolet's nearing that Coalescence, though, only 5% away. Proper looking for a target, does swing and miss, and now he's just sitting on the Mega Health Pack. But Ultraviolet and OG now pushing the Reign forwards. That speed boost in the Coalescence, very hard to escape from. If Violet didn't have that amp it up, the San Francisco Shock still pushing the payload, to be fair, getting it at a sizable distance, and no one has fallen just yet. There's a minute to go with the payload rounding this second to last corner before the checkpoint unlocks.
Finn with the Coalescence. They're going to get the chance to go first, but is Hawk going to go early with the strike?
Meteor strike on the back, and Violet dies to it yet again. The San Francisco Shock, are they going to decide to go now or later? It looks like later, but Hawk denies the Coalescence once more, and Kai there with the follow-up damage. The San Francisco Shock, They're in shambles. 40 seconds to go, and the Atlanta Reign look like they want to take it here and put themselves on match point.
You saw Hawk pause there for a second. That was a question mark from him right there. Putting in work on that Doomfist right now. They're going first. The Shocker just getting caught flat-footed. So we're going into the last fight. Atlanta Reign have the beat, the Death Blossom, and the Visor. How is Shock going to have to answer proper with that Pulse Bomb? Is going to have to go huge.
Has to catch Ultraviolet off guard, or OG, just somebody. You need a kill here to start off the fight. Nero to the back line. Death Blossom, he's got the beat to back him up, so there's no worry about you dying. 2 kills for Nero. Kai falls to proper. There's the Pulse Bomb they were looking for. It's a 3-on-3. Ultraviolet still alive. Violet pops the sound barrier, hits the 3 remaining members, but the coalescence from Ultraviolet is just too good. Hawk's pushing the rest of the San Francisco Shock back just with the plain punches. Nero, Hawk, they're in the kill feed, and the Atlanta Reign push away the Shock. This Death Blossom has to be big, but look at the Reign, they just play back. They don't need to worry about it. They got the speed and the damage to back them up. Colosseo 1 HP, jumps into the skies with a Meteor Strike, but quickly clean on up. Another Meteor Strike kill for Hawk, and that is it. The Atlanta Reign, 2 maps taken away from the Shock. Match point. And a day I think a lot of people expected to go one way. The Shock picking up dubs. They were first seed coming in, undefeated in fact, coming into the Kickoff Clash. The Atlanta Reign had a couple of tricks up their sleeve. They're playing them right now.
Where was this Atlanta Reign all season? They've started so slowly, they've looked inconsistent, they didn't have that coordination. Today they look like a completely different team. I don't know what they put in the water for the playoffs for the Atlanta Reign. They got to put that in the regular season water, because they are just a different beast when it comes to them in the matches that matter. But hey, we were here yesterday for the San Francisco Shock and they turned it around.
Yep.
So never say die if you're the San Francisco Shock.
They got to come up with something rather special. Look a little bit disconnected right now, but they've got to reconnect to that server and get it going. Map number 3, and potentially the final map as well, Scott. We'll see you in a sec. Private leaderboards are here. Make sure you download the Overwatch League mobile app on the Google Play Store and the App Store for iOS to make your prediction and compete with your friends and share your fandom. You know, I like impressing my friends with my giant brain and my pick'em knowledge, and I like seeing what your preds are throughout the day too, Scott, because they were a little bit different in a couple of the games.
Yeah, I went for Florida over Washington just because Washington,
What's that about?
Washington's burnt me before.
Okay.
So I won't speak so passionately right here about it because we need to talk about this match. But yeah, Florida Mayhem could be upsetting.
It's all right, you can be mad on social media later, that's fine. That's cool. Yeah, but make sure you download that app and get predicting. All right, back to the series at hand. The Shock, look, they've done it before, Scott. The reverse sweep has to start now. It's got to start somewhere. It's got to start now. They're 2 maps down. The Atlanta Reign looking a dominant force currently.
The person I'm looking out for is the same person who enabled the reverse sweep yesterday. It has to start from Proper. Proper on that Tracer was absolutely dominant on New Queen Street against the Washington Justice. So I want to see him have that performance. He's kind of gone amiss in this series. I can't really remember him having that much impact. But we're heading over to Dorado, and the subs are coming in. We're going back to the first map setups. We're going to have the Winstons, we're going to have the Tracers, we're going to have the Dive. But the thing that might be different on Dorado is the Widowmakers. Kai versus Kilo. Kai is a tried and tested Widowmaker who made his mark known yesterday on Watchpoint Gibraltar. Kilo, the rookie, who's looked good, but can he go and hang with the best?
Yeah, the veteran in Kai. For sure. He was known as for his Widowmaker for, well, since forever. I love a lot of the rookies coming into the season. They are going up against these very veteran DPS tank support duos, and it's good to see how much they can stand up. Sometimes even surpassing, of course, Proper being one of them. One of the best DPS in the league we have right now. Although currently, to be fair, in this match, ain't looking so hot compared to Venom on the Tracer.
It's as we said yesterday, that he just wasn't showing up and then he flicked a switch. Wherever that switch is, he has to flick it right now. And the entirety of the San Francisco Shock need to flip that switch. It's not just individual players missing out. Them as a team are just not having that level of coordination that we know the San Francisco Shock have. They're going slower than the Atlanta Reign. They're not coordinating their ultimates together. They're just on a different wavelength. And the Atlanta Reign is punishing them for it.
Yeah, they are trying to punish. Now, look, okay, we're obviously going to see Kilo on the Widowmaker. I want to see how they end up setting up. Sometimes you see the teleport from Venom up into the high ground, put Kai up there too with his supports. It's all about juggling the payload too. I mean, the Shock do not want to let a free payload push happen like they still on King's Row. They just took it for free. Like,
yeah.
You have to be able to respond to that like ASAP. And Dorado, I'm sure everybody can kind of remember the Dorado rank games, right, where you just kind of let the payload go into the bridge for free. Like, that's bad. You end up losing so much high ground.
It's interesting with the Widowmaker head-to-head, a lot of teams have actually been giving up that front half just so that you had that defensive advantage. You can put your Widowmaker on that back arch, or you can put them in that little window near the market. And what that does is it gives the defensive Widow so much freedom to move around, and it can be hard for the offensive Widow to find those sight lines because you have to expose yourself. And I'm looking at Kai. I think Kai is the person who's going to have to break open this first point, especially because Proper is on the Genji. He's going to be waiting for Kai to come out, and Genji's going to hunt him down.
Pretty early high ground control, at least attempting to, from the Reign. But yeah, Shock seems they're very willing to give that bit up. Kai's just playing main right now on Widowmaker. Like you said, it's all about Proper getting on top of Kai, making sure he has a bit of a rougher time, give Kilo a better time. Grapple shot. Can he find anybody? Nope. Everybody's missing.
It looks like Atlanta Reign's taking control of this market space. They're waiting for that go time. Gators jumping on, just taking inch by inch, and the Shock is giving it to them, wanting to keep that defensive setup. Big Biotic Nade coming in from Ultraviolet on Violet and Proper, keeping them low, forcing them back a little bit further. This is a slow attack, but here they go.
Very slow. Gator got slept, and now he's antied. The Atlanta Reign just refusing to back up, though. I mean, they're just, again, pushing the payload for free. The Shock decided they want to take this final fight on the first point. Nice dive onto Kilo. Double pocket, though, from Violet and Finn to keep him alive and well in the fight. But Gator not quite so lucky. Nice nade once more from Ultraviolet. He's hitting these antis, but they're just not getting followed up on. And with Gator dead, the San Francisco Shock have free reign over the front line. So Atlanta Reign, yeah, they're going to go again.
Look at the clock, Jack. It's 2 minutes. That wasn't a 2-minute attack by the Atlanta Reign. That cost them so much time. Yes, it could have gone the other way, but now they're working on limited time. But the ult cycle is up. Ultraviolet with that nano boost. Gator's going to go in with that one.
Yeah, looks like they want to be able to set up. Oh, proper, almost killing Venom. There's the nano in the back line. Gator finding a little bit. Gets Andy, so decides to back away. Now the pulse one from Venom, oh, hits the roof. But the rallies are going to be decent. OG a little bit further behind, and the San Francisco Shock popping their own. Does mean they're a little bit more hardy, but Proper was so low throughout the whole fight, didn't get any backup whatsoever. The sights have been active from the Shock, but will that really change much? They've still lost Proper, and the Nanoblade not really going to end up working out. In fact, they're going to apply it to Colosseo to try and open this one up. They need to be able to get back to the point. Finn with the 1v1 on to Venom, and now Gator trying to jostle with the Kilo. The Atlanta Reign not getting too much stuff done. In fact, it's Finn doing the heavy lifting currently. The Atlanta Reign's time back dwindling down.
We talked about the Widowmakers. Neither of them are doing anything, it feels like right now. They're just sort of looking at each other. The Atlanta Reign blew everything in that fight, while the San Francisco Shock and Proper holding onto that blade. So as soon as Atlanta Reign try and play that slow aggression, Proper's just going to find the backline. So how are the Atlanta Reign going to approach this? Are they just going to go all in hard, or are they going to try and bait the blade out from Proper and then punish that?
Proper's onto the left-hand side. Kai's actually peeking that angle. Yeah, you don't really want to be there. We've seen too many reflective kills, actually, on this map specifically, too, from Proper. Still looking for a target for the blade. He spots Ultraviolet in the back line. There's the dive, straight on the Ana, an instant kill. The added damage from Colosseo there, just guaranteed it being one. Oh, he's trying for it. Kai, a little bit too wise. Maybe that's where the veterancy comes into play. Scott, 20 seconds to go, and the Atlanta Reign struggling to get anything done.
20 seconds left. Atlanta Reign don't have anything still. They've barely even taken any fights in this round. Venom with the pulse bomb. We saw him do it on the first map. He's going to have to come up big again.
It does feel like a very strange game of Overwatch. Everything's just so slow-paced for these comps that normally want to go rather fast. The pulse bomb hits the shield of Violet, so he's able to drop that one on the floor and then just walk away. Overtime, now here. Finn's still more than happy to stay on the sidelines, and now that is the opening that you want. Violet dead by Kai's hands. Nano boost for Finn, though. Instant applying to Colosseo. He's not going to fall and get that primal rage. Nice, killed by Proper. The following up and the dives are perfect. This is the San Francisco Shock we expected to show up today. It may have taken them to map number 3 to do it, but maybe that's where they're strongest. Gator still killing Proper is going to be a good sign, and the stall for the Atlanta Reign's good. They come back with a nano boost, or at least 8% away, and Gator being able to separate the supports from each other, but no.
It was looking hard for Atlanta Reign, so we'll call it a half C9 coming in from the Atlanta Reign, but that was the San Francisco Shock, as you said, that we expect. They played so well, even at the disadvantage, that final fight, Kai finally getting a pick, but they're able to use their ultimates to mitigate that lack of healing, and I don't want to be that guy, but the reverse sweep starts now.
I mean, they've done it before, why can't they do it again? That's insane. You get to map 3, like, okay, anyway, we're showing up now, yeah?
There's Proper.
Clocking in, punching the punch card.
We talked about that switch. It looked flipped. I love that. He's a rookie, but he had that composure when he pulled that blade with 20 seconds to go. He got that one kill. Me, you, every single person in ranked in DPS would have gone for those extra kills, that second, that third kill.
He backed off.
He had that composure, backs off, understanding that the fight was already in their advantage. If he goes aggressive and gets punished, it's worse for them. So this guy just putting on work, and this is him cleaning up the backline, doing exactly what he needs to do on that Genji.
As a Makabu, phenomenal Genji, just being, again, the patience, being in the right place at the right time, especially as a flanking DPS player. That's a skill that you develop over so many hours of play. And then lining up the Widow, a little right click, a little dash, an instant kill. Okay, the Shock, they're on their attack. Yes, see Kilo, he's warming up, he's ready to go. Reverse sweep starts here, baby.
Gamer pose, rubbing his hands together.
I love it.
We're gonna see Kilo teleport them to the high ground, as everyone does these days. Gator's gonna get some ult charge by holding a little bit close, but ultimately give that one up. I wouldn't be surprised to see Atlanta Reign do the same thing that the Shock did. Give them that first half, try and get ult charge, try and get picks, but at the end of the day, it's very difficult to hold this high ground. Kilo having that impact as the rookie. We said the rookie going up against the veteran and making his mark known.
Oh yeah, double grapple shot. Easy peasy. Oh, don't want to cross!
Kai saying
You do not want to put down your shield if you're OG there. You got a Fairy Ultraviolet. That was lucky that you didn't lose your Ana there.
All right, so now we have the Atlanta Reign. It's not the worst thing in the world. They're just going to have to back up. They entered the small room. Ultraviolet's dead. How is this happening?
There's no way. The Shock are just running. The Shock are just running over a completely different tempo from what we saw the Atlanta Reign do. It took them 2 minutes to kind of jostle around, fight, look for ultimates. The San Francisco Shock have already pushed way past where the Atlanta Reign even got to. There's a couple of meters to go. The Atlanta Reign, they need to touch. They've got no ult, and OG died super late there. Finn has just been popping off, and there you go. Just like that, the San Francisco Shock, the reverse sweep is signed, Scott. The Atlanta Reign had almost no business on Dorado.
That was not close. Somehow Atlanta Reign end up in a small room with Kaluj and a Genji. I don't know how the backline ended up there, but they needed to be more in the open, holding more space, stopping the San Francisco Shock from just walking forward. I don't want to talk for the Atlanta Reign and just the dive style. We know that it is not their strength and the thing that they've tried to avoid playing, but they looked so good on that first map. I was thinking maybe something had clicked. But something about the Dorado heavily struggled so far.
Man, maybe that's San Francisco Shock's map. It definitely looked like Proper's map, that is for sure. Push coming up next after this break. We'll see you in a sec.
said lightning doesn't strike twice has never met the San Francisco shot.
Some of the most hardcore carry performances that I've ever seen.
Just a depth of talent on their roster that can't be denied.
I mean, what more can you ask from the Shock? This is going to be a wild ride.
Violet is cracked. He's out of his mind.
I say that justice. Okay.
Tasted everything right now.
Jesus Christ, dude.
Sam is deadlifting right now, actually.
Finish is doing so much. Cleans it up like DPS and Yardo.
San Francisco has cemented themselves as the greatest team in Overwatch.
The Shock have reached their comfort zone, I think. They're 2 maps down. Well, they were, till they took Dorado. A full hold on Dorado. They're looking good. Oh boy, I'd be scared about the Atlanta Reign right now, Scott.
Violet said yesterday when they went to 5 maps, he was like, I just wanted to play more maps, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe Violet's just leaning into that again today. He's been, had some struggles on the Lucio so far in the first couple of maps, but that San Francisco Shock on Dorado was a completely different team to the one we saw in the first 2.
I mean, it felt like the Atlanta Reign was also completely different from what we saw in the first 2. Their fights were so slow. They took 2 minutes. They pushed the payload, well, like a decent amount towards first point, but the fight was never really going. Like, they just kind of stood around, waited for picks. Maybe they were just waiting on Kai to find that crucial headshot on a DPS or a support. I'm not sure.
I will say the San Francisco Shock backline reacted perfectly. Every time Atlanta Reign threw something at them, double pocket. Anyone they isolated, they were getting protected. So you have to give credit there, but Atlanta Reign, they're going to have to come up with answers as we move on to the 4th map, because as we talked about it, they did it against Gladiators, they did it against Washington. The San Francisco Shock cannot keep getting away with it as we start to see the subs coming out for the Atlanta Reign.
Yep, there you go. Nero stepping in, as well as Hawk for the Atlanta Reign. The 2 maps they want, to be fair. They play them both.
It'll be interesting to see what Hawk decides to come out on. He has played Doomfist on this map many a time so far this season, but has been leaning more towards the Xayah as of late. Venom having, Nero having big impact as well. The coordination that they have, that more death ball style. And the San Francisco Shock, no subs. So they decided to keep in Kilo. I would expect him to stay and come play the Soldier. Soldier's been such a dominant hero on this map because of the long sight lines. You can get so much damage down, you can get so much flanking. We've seen some running man moments at the beginning of these rounds getting behind the opposition.
Yeah, kind of scary stuff. But this is, well, if you're a Shock fan, right, you're like, oh yes, we lost 2 maps, can't wait.
I don't think that's what they were saying in comms.
No, they were saying that. You know it, you love it. The San Francisco Shock, the reverse sweep gods, and then you compare that to some of the other teams in the league who end up getting reverse swept. Kind of was bad on the other end, right? But there you go. Colosseo is a bit of an interesting one too, like you said. Maybe Hawk switching over to that Zarya, but his Doomfist looked unbelievable. Like, the amount of ultimates that they denied, Violet losing 2 beats on control. You had Nero reflecting the Blizzard. You had them destroying the Coalescence with just a single punch. Like, what more can you ask for from a Doomfist, really?
The thing that I'm interested by for the San Francisco Shock, if Hawk does come out on this Doomfist, we saw on Ilios Ruins, Kaluj was willing to mirror it. So if that does come to bear, Kaluj might not feel comfortable on that Winston and make that switch over to the Doomfist as well. So there's a lot of mind games. Atlanta Reign, when they make these switches, it's very obvious how they're going to want to play. While the San Francisco Shock, their players are so flexible that you can never really expect what they're going to do, and they have that ability to adapt mid-map.
They're definitely going to need some mid-map adaptations. I like this map as well, specifically for the Shock. Proper can just have free run around, like ring around the rosy of the supports. There's so many small little hiding places that you can find as the Tracer. It's good for Soldier as well. Like, the amount of flank routes is kind of insane. Like, as soon as when I first jumped into the map, there's the big long stretch where the robot is and you have to push it down. But then there's it feels like 80% of the map on the other side where the robot is not. It's just flank route, flank route, flank route.
There's doors on doors on doors, and more importantly, there's health packs as well, so that gives the Tracers and the Soldiers freedom. But San Francisco Shock, a very different look. Kaluj coming out here on the Xayah, proper on the Hanzo, something we haven't seen from him so far that much, but Atlanta Reign with the exact same composition.
Yeah. All right, a little bit of grab dragons maybe. Haven't seen that in a long time.
A classic.
You gotta love it.
So
Those
you're
are the
gonna,
answers, though.
you're gonna see a lot of shooting down this long corridor, everyone waiting for those moments, either the Hanzo's hitting those big shots or the antibiotic nades getting lobbed down. I would be surprised if you saw anyone decide to go aggressive without either of those things happening. So it could just be a big standoff right now, trying to get control of TS1.
Yeah, they really just want to capitalize, yeah, like you said, on a nade. Can't run up on them, they're pretty tough. Especially when Colosseo has a bubble to cleanse himself of the anti. They're waiting for Nero or Proper to find a headshot, is what they're waiting on right now.
Yeah, we saw an okay nade from Ultraviolet, force shock back a little bit, but once that's worn off, they take the headshot.
There's the headshot you were after. Now they don't have a Lucio. They have to run real quick because the San Francisco Shock, they know it's go time. That speed boost can be devastating if you're on the receiving end.
They know where Nero is. They know he's on this mega pack at the back. I wouldn't be surprised if San Francisco Shock try and find a way to isolate him. But just that little bit of positioning, I think we go into the same position. Everyone's looking to get those pokes. We go back into the corridor as the Hanzos try and hit this shot.
It's crazy, they're just playing around that one arrow, that one headshot. A couple of ultimates coming online though, both Ana's looking at a nano boost or quite close.
Another one.
Not quite so much anymore. Rain lose their Ana just like that. Proper hits ahead. And there you go, Nero cleaned up the shock. Firm control now, firm grasp of control. Grab Dragon's coming up soon. There's just so much. They have a wealth of ultimates, almost 6 in the bank for this next fight.
Yeah, this is going to be the big ultimate fight, and this is where it gets hard if you're the offensive team. You got to push it under the bridge, and you can already see the Atlanta Reign setting up on the high ground with that Soldier Hanzo. So you're going to see the Shock. They're disengaging a little bit. They're not willing to walk through that open plane. Proper though,
wow,
with the flank. I think this is going exactly what you're saying. They're waiting for this big Graviton surge. He plays that side. Colosseo gets the good grab as the Atlanta Reign walks forward to take that positioning, and the Dragon comes from an unexpected angle.
There you go, 99%, boom. Graviton Surge online for Colosseo. Grab Dragons available. However, Atlanta Reign are going to go first. There's the grab. Can they find it? It'll be Kai in the backline with the nano visor. Can they stop any of this damage coming through? Yeah, it looks like it. The San Francisco Shock using that Violet beat to push them around. They caught Hawk in the grab, and the Dragons finishing him off, and Proper still doing damage. He was on the sidelines that whole time, Scott, and Ultraviolet dies, and the San Francisco Shock claim control of the robot again.
This is a very different style of push that we've seen from any team. Both teams prioritizing positioning with this composition rather than pushing the bot or ever going aggressive. You saw Kai go with that nano visor, and it had some success, but as soon as the team turns around on him, he just has nowhere to go. There's San Francisco Shock backing off, and we end up in this corridor once more.
Grab Dragons, it's Colosseo that dies. Unfortunate stuff. I mean, the amount of healing, you need a lamp, you need a beat, you need a transcendence, you need something to help you survive there. 2 bubbles is not going to be enough. Nero cleaning up the Shock. Atlanta Reign, they haven't got too far to push, but still, oh my god. Wow, I wasn't expecting that.
Nero is starting to come alive on that Hanzo, and the Atlanta Reign pushes it forward, trying to get to that checkpoint that the San Francisco Shock got as well. But you see the major difference between what the Shock did and what Atlanta Reign is. They've got the high ground positioning. You can see Hawk on this high ground. They got the Ana, the Hanzo. So the San Francisco Shock have to make a decision. Are they going to try and fight for this bridge, or are they just going to try and force the position on the point? You can see Colosseo running down the bridge.
Yeah, ideally you want that high ground. Nice anti in the back. That healing station does nothing, but Nero kills Finn. Lack of healing now for the San Francisco Shock, and a lack of nano. Where are they going to choose to fight? Looks like the high ground, Kilo taking control and killing Ultraviolet. And nano was applied to Hawk before Ultraviolet died, but it got next to nothing done.
Ultraviolet on his way out gives the nano to Hawk to keep him alive as well. Maybe a desperation moment. Fortunately, does not pay off for them, and the San Francisco Shock are able to take that space. Look at how many ultimates the Shock have. They need to find a way to position themselves into a better spot so that they can utilize these ultimates, because it feels like they're just stuck on the low ground and only able to isolate one person at a time. But you can see Hawk fighting for it, a Colosseo grab out.
Graviton Surge, there's the Dragons. 2 people are trapped in it, as well as an anti-nade straight on top. Nero OG dead. Violet uses the B at the very end of the fight. Not sure about that one, but at least Proper farming the Atlanta Reign on the Hanzo. 1 beat available for the Reign here. They know the Shock used that fairly late, so they could use that to push on forward, but that robot is nearing that checkpoint.
Atlanta Reign coming up to a Graviton Surge and a Dragon in themselves, but Ultraviolet finds almost a free pickup onto Proper, and they're not going to get that so important checkpoint on Colosseo and Atlanta Reign. TS1 runs back their way.
The tempo now in their favor. I mean, look, the Atlanta Reign ult bang, grab dragons. It is like grab dragon meta all over again. We're waiting for the grab dragons.
I could go pro again. This was my meta, 2016. I'm back in business. But let's see how Atlanta Reign use this one. Hawk is getting up to it. He wants to isolate Kaluj. Kaluj is the big target.
Grab available. Oh, B is actually forced out. The San Francisco Shock have split up. Can they find the kill onto Proper? Yes. Nice Graviton surge. Kaluj doesn't stand a chance. They don't even need to use the dragons because the rest of the Shock were already dead. It was a nice idea from San Francisco, splitting up and then forcing the Atlanta Reign to maybe use the Graviton surge a little less effectively, but it didn't work out, and the Reign now have the lead.
Great presence of mind by Nero to not use that dragon to finish off Kaluj. It was unnecessary. Now the Atlanta Reign, they have the advantage, and they've got the checkpoint. This is the big moment. They have the positioning again. How is the Shock going to get this opening? Last time was a big biotic nade from Finn, but it is this time again.
Dragons easily dodged, but Kalush is now on his own on the sidelines. He's so low. A nano onto Hawk, he's 50 energy, a couple of kills. The Atlanta Reign want to deny this reverse sweep from Shock. Are Shock going to let them do it? They've got a couple more fights in them, a minute and 30 to go, but we are at the breaking edge right now, 90 plus meters for the Reign.
Kilo switching over to this Ash to have more damage, but look at how much positioning Atlanta Reign's getting. But great punish onto Hawk.
Big sleep onto Proper, he's 9 HP. Kalu should be able to finish the rest of the team off. He's high charge. And the Atlanta Reign have no healing to spare. But we're looking at last fight now, Scott. A minute to go for the Shock. They need to keep themselves in. This was their time to come alive. The reverse sweep potential.
Even though there's 1 minute left in this map, the San Francisco Shock cannot drop another team fight. They have so much way to go, and then they have to push the bot as well. We have Graviton Dragon coming up for the San Francisco Shock again. There it is.
The grab comes out. The Dragons have been earned, but they need it? I don't think they do. The nano boost available from Finn. The San Francisco Shock have ults to spend in this next fight, and Kai used that visor and just got nothing with it. 59 meters for the Shock, 30 seconds to go. The Atlanta Reign trying to buy as much time as possible. Once again, Ultraviolet finding these strange off-the-bat kills.
That seems good for the Shock, but that's actually a great idea by the Atlanta Reign. Get that Graviton Surge out early, so therefore there's a long way to go for the San Francisco Shock, and you can actually see in push, the spawns are so far away. We have Violet coming back for Proper, just so that they can have a clean 5 versus 5 fight, and the Atlanta Reign, they're in position. They have all the control. They just need to be careful and not throw away all their ultimates in this fight.
It's their final chance to come back in the series. The Dragons are going to get unleashed, but an easy speed away from the Atlanta Reign, and now the nano boost on Hawk. He's found an entrance to the backline. Kalusha's staring right at his back though, but already Kai has done some damage. Proper falls, but Kai does too. It's a 4-on-4, but Kalush with the nano and high charge. He's surviving so much of this damage that Nero is dishing out. A beautiful boop onto OG, sends into the skies and to now heaven. The San Francisco Shock, they've got the bob for this next point. Proper's changing over to a Genji to try and get back in time.
This is going to take a while. Once the San Francisco Shock get onto this checkpoint, TS1 has to sort of take a break. You know, it's been a hard day's work. So Kilo has the bob. He has that setup, that initiation tool. The Atlanta Reign though, Graviton Surge and the Dragon, they've been getting so much value from it so far. They only need this one team fight to close out this match.
They step off the payload and it's all over, but Hawk is so close to this Graviton Surge. He's got it. Bob runs straight past him, but he runs to the back line. Kilo's in a lot of trouble. Someone's got to save him. The Dragons are going to help finish him off. A 4v5 and a beat for the Atlanta Reign. They now need to just focus down Kalush and stop him getting value from these bubbles. Nero finds a headshot to Violet, and this could just be it. They're going to deny Shock the reverse sweep. Goodbye, Finn. Gets sent over the edge of the map. It's up to Proper, but it's not going to happen. He finds 2 kills, but Hawk is just way too strong. The Atlanta Reign deny Shock the reverse sweep. They take push and take the series 3-1.
The Atlanta Reign coming back strong. Now we're in the finals of the Kickoff Clash. And the San Francisco Shock not able to convert the reverse sweep like they were yesterday. They're looking a little shaky. They have some good moments, but if they're going to do it, if they're going to get to the finals, they're going to have to make the run through the lower bracket.
What a relief for the Atlanta Reign. They thought the Shock may have entered the comfort zone. That Dorado did not go according to plan. But still, with the Reign capitalizing here, not eliminating, knocking Shock down to the lower bracket. A #1 seed to an undefeated San Francisco Shock coming into the Kickoff Clash.
I want to know how many people in the pick'ems had the Atlanta Reign to go to the winners bracket final, win their first 2 matches. They've been struggling so far this season, but as I said, completely different team. Absolutely incredible performance from them today, showing good strategy, coordination, and also they've got their compositions down. They understand how they want to play this game, and someone's got to find an answer for it.
They have a lot of depth in their roster. We've seen Gator, we've seen Hawk, we've seen the DPS swap up as well. It's been a good look for the Reign. The Shock now have to battle through that lower bracket like you mentioned. They'll find out who their opponent is a little bit later on. There's 2 teams going home today too. Got to remember that. That's going to be a tough run. Dallas Fuel and the Gladiators, that's coming up next. Another unbelievable game. Number 2 and number 3 seed facing off.
Sure, the Atlanta Reign's going to be watching that match intently, our next match, because that's who their opponent is going to be. And I don't feel good for anyone in the lower bracket already. I don't want to face the San Francisco Shock in an elimination match. They've done it time and time again throughout the years as a franchise. When they get to the playoffs and when they get to that lower bracket, they're difficult to beat.
I think we've got an interview down on the stage though with Danny. It's Hawk down there. I want to have a little word with him myself, I think. Let's have a look what Danny has to say.
Johnson Costa, thank you very much. I am standing right next to OG from Atlanta Reign. Everybody give it up for OG and Atlanta Reign. What an upset. I don't think a lot of people would have predicted that Atlanta Reign was going to beat the San Francisco Shock, but you guys made it happen. How'd you guys do it?
I think they underestimated us a lot, and we've always had this talent to be the #1 team, but what we were missing was just the pieces to make it work, and I think we found that so far at this tournament.
Would it be okay for me to ask what those pieces were?
Yeah, I think our compositions were a little off during the regular season, but we've really managed to clean it up, and I think we showed that today against our win. With our win.
Wow. Interesting. I mean, yeah, like you mentioned, you know, you guys had to find those pieces, and you guys always had the potential to be a really great team. Hi, Reiner. All right. I mean, my question is, I feel like, do you actually personally feel like a lot of people are sort of, as of right now, underestimating the Atlanta Reign?
Absolutely. After our loss against our rivals, the London Spitfire, I don't think people thought we were much of a contender to win this tournament, but I hope everyone's minds changed after today. And we're gonna, you know, this loss doesn't mean much until winning doesn't mean until grand finals, because, you know, they can come back and lose this bracket. So we're gonna keep our heads clear.
All right, thank you so much. One last question for you, OG. Next match is, I think, Dallas versus Gladiators, and the winner from that match is going to be your next opponent. Who do you think is going to go up and then meet you guys in the semifinals?
This is a close one. You know, it's really coming down to the supports here in this lineup. You know, if someone gets their beat canceled or something, then everything can go crazy. So it's up in the air.
It's up in the air. You're not gonna. You can't really choose who's gonna win. No.
I'm not sure.
Come on, just pick one team. Gladiators or Dallas?
I'm going with Gladiators.
Gladiators! Gladiators it is! All right, that is it for OG. Thank you so much. Let's head back to our casters.
Thank you very much, Danny. Yeah, got a little hot in here. I took off the jacket. I didn't get back on. Whoops, daisy. It's all good. There you go. Come on, you got to say the other team, right? You got to say Gladiators just to rile up the crowd a little bit.
Yeah, you know, I think it's fair. This was going to be a close one. I love Danny. Danny just pokes and prods them until they say something, and he comes out with the Gladiators. That's a close one. I think it's going to be a good match, but you got to give credit, especially to OG, a rookie so far in this season, and he's been performing flawlessly. Like, yeah. We've seen so many beats canceled. You know, he just talked about that, but he's been exceptional. Even when the Atlanta Reign has been down, I think the backline of the Atlanta Reign has been pretty clean.
Yeah, maybe Reiner whispered something into his ear just then, on the stage.
Yeah, there's insider trading going there. Reiner's maybe a threatening hug of, you better choose us.
Well, let's have a look at player of the match, though, from that one. Who we're going to give it to, I think, is going to be Hawk. His Doomfist looked so good. He cancelled so many ultimates. Violet just didn't have a good time. Also, Meteor Strike is changed in Overwatch 2. It does a little bit less damage, like with the AoE, but you land on people, it still does a whole bunch. And the amount of times he was picking up kills like that, but maybe for me, it was the ult cancels. Like, absolute beast.
I think it's the Xayah. I think it's Xayah being able to come into these series, into these playoffs matches. Before, when we saw Hawk come into the lineup, we were just like, it has to be Doomfist. He's going to play that style. But being able to make that switch up onto the Xayah makes them even more threatening and make it even more difficult. Here's his Xayah statistics right here. Great gravitons. He stayed alive and he got so many final blows. And that aggression and that positioning really made it difficult for the San Francisco Shock to do anything.
Yeah, really did push them off kilter, that's for sure. And that was one of my favorite things about the Atlanta Reign coming into the season was they had Hawk and Gator still in the roster. They have a traditionally main tank player, and they have a traditionally an off-tank player, which gives them a lot of flexibility going into a game that is 5v5 without that tank, and you're able to just kind of more hyper-specialize. But I think both of them extremely flexible in what they do.
And that's the most important thing. As Overwatch 2 and 5v5 grows, the tanks that are more flexible are going to become more valuable. We've already seen that from players like Kaluj and Reiner. The ability to play multiple things is such a big boon for you as a team because you can do so many different compositions without making subs.
Yeah, exactly that. We're going to jump to a quick break. Don't go anywhere. Dallas and Glads are up next.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Upper Deck, the official trading card of the Overwatch League. And by TeamSpeak, the official voice supplier of the Overwatch League.
Hello and welcome everyone to our game break. So we're here joined by Reinforce as well as Necra to break down all the action. And I mean, we could say we told you so about the upset, but that would still be disingenuous.
We told you so, but we didn't
predict.
We didn't
Yeah, exactly. In fact, only 1% of all our fans have Atlanta win it all. So
that's fair.
Yeah. That's still a lot of people, though. We have a lot of fans. You think about
1% is, you know, I don't know how much.
I don't know out of how many, but I'm just going to assume there's a lot of people out there.
Millions of people.
Millions of people. Also, 48% of people have San Francisco Shock take the crown in the Kickoff Clash.
That's way too high. 48% people.
I'm one of those.
Yeah,
have
but
something to say.
Yeah, but 48%, like that's obviously too many. Like, you know,
There's
you were
two
there
of us.
first.
Be careful.
Then
So okay, so Nick and I, we're okay to pred that, but everyone else like is too much.
Yeah, if you came late to the party, you're not allowed to pred Shock winning the tournament. That's how it is. You gotta go to the other teams. Divide yourself up. It's a fire hazard, okay? You wouldn't understand.
Yeah, it's overcapacity on the Shock boats.
Yeah, too many.
Not everyone can be in that ship.
Yeah.
I understand that. However, we do have to discuss what just transpired. I mean, Atlanta Reign, they are looking good. They're looking flexible. They're looking like the team we really wanted to see the last 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And then we finally get to see them, whereas the Shock, yeah, I don't know. I mean, this is not first day jitters anymore. They clearly are struggling to show us different looks. Do you feel like they come across a little one-dimensional right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that I don't think we really considered going into the tournament, and it's hard to really, you know, kind of see it before it actually happens. But the San Francisco Shock, I mean, they have gotten away with playing a lot of these Winston compositions with Proper on that tracer. I mean, you could argue like, well, they played Sigma on Circuit Real against the Vancouver Titans, where it's like, oh, all right, well, if that's your argument. But the Atlanta Reign, meanwhile, they're just like firing on all cylinders. There comes a point when you are a professional team where it just kind of clicks, where it's like, okay, we failed in this matter, we failed in this matter, and what are the lessons we've learned? And then you put it all together and you just kind of like hit your stride. And I feel like the Atlanta Reign, in many ways, they have done so. They struggle against Reinhardt teams, right? They struggle against London Spitfire, not Dallas Fuel, LA Gladiators. They played Reinhardt compositions. Well, they don't have to deal with that when they play against the San Francisco Shock for the majority of this match. You kind of just have to pick apart this Colosseo Winston composition. And at times, San Francisco Shock, they showed some signs of life, like here on Dorado. But Atlanta Reign, they were in a prime position following that Ilios and following the King's Row, where they were able to rely on the Hawks area. And once more on Colosseo, you could say, well, okay, well, we're not going to pick New Queen Street because we don't want to give San Francisco the chance to play their Winston composition with all the big flanks on New Queen Street as well. Proper can have a great time on the Tracer. We're going to force it to a bit of a more narrow map so we can play our Zarya composition with Nero on the Hanzo because we're very confident in our ability to do so. So the Atlanta Reign, it all just seems like it's coming together for them. Whether it's the Doomfist composition or the Zarya, they feel like they have all the answers and they're confident in their play. That showed very much so in today's series.
Yeah, I mean, Necro, we see that as well when we're looking at their subbing strategies. I mean, they have a very clear idea of what they want to play on which map and with whom.
Yeah, and I think that's something that's really characteristic of Overwatch 2 in general, is that it's a lot more map dependent. You're looking at compositional picks and even just compositional play styles that have to vary based on the positioning and what you're offered and just the natural architecture of the map. And I just want to kind of bring up another point that I thought was really interesting about Colosseo, because as we did see that pick come through and the Zarya compositions come out from both teams, a lot of that map, San Francisco was actually beating the Atlanta Reign when it came to just damage across the board. I mean, I'm looking at Hanzo and Zarya from Proper, and Colosseo was actually out damaging that of Nero and Hawk, so they were outpacing in that regard. Kai was out damaging Kilo, but that was until he switched over to the Ashe. So all in all, Atlanta Reign still got the job done despite having less damage on the board.
I mean, I love that map, actually. Like, for everyone who wants to see some good tactical Overwatch, like, go back and rewatch that Colosseo map, because quite frankly, I think both teams had a really interesting approach. Jaws and Cussa did a phenomenal job in breaking that down, talking more about the positioning. Very often at the beginning on those kind of push maps, we saw a lot of more of a brawl, more chaos, a lot of fights, like constant fighting. This one felt a lot more tactical. There was a lot more positioning. There was a lot more usage of the architecture of the maps, as you said, Nikra. So yeah, that was a great one to break down for sure. Now Atlanta is moving on, and Shock now has to fight their way through the lower bracket. I am excited at how all of this is shaping up. And our next match, That is a tough one to predict as one. LA Gladiators going up against the Dallas Fuel. Now that is our next match to preview. I don't even know where to start with this one. I mean, at this point, I can't trust my own Preds anymore or my feelings about any of those teams.
Upsets happens, isn't it?
It's true, it's true. But okay, based on what we've seen from both those teams yesterday, Necra, do you feel like one team really has the edge here?
Oh, that's such a tough call because when you're looking at both teams, they play differently. You know, I think that both teams have quite a bit of compositional diversity, more particularly when you're looking at the LA Gladiators. You can see them run a bunch of different things. Dallas Fuel, they do tend to stick towards the Zarya comp, but I think OG actually was onto something when looking at the back lines of both of these teams. And so my eyes are definitely on the supports and how much they're able to really help initiate some of these engagements.
Who are you keeping your eyes on for this match?
I'm keeping my eyes on the tanks, quite honestly. I don't think. Well, I think that the tanks dictate a lot what composition you're playing. Like, are you going to commit to like Hanbin Star compositions, or like do you sub in your Winston player and rely on that kind of stuff, right? I think that this tactical